Breaking news, there's a major member of the Trump regime who is officially out. Check out this clip.
All right, there's a breaking news that happened in the commercial break. So what you're looking at photographs right now of Michael Waltz. He is the president's national security advisor, except for we just got news that he is going to be leaving the administration along with his deputy, Alex Wong. Of course, if you might remember the story of Signalgate.
And we are coming on because sources tell CBS News that President Trump has fired his national security advisor, Michael Waltz. This happened just a short time ago. You, of course, remember that name because it was Waltz who started a Signal group chat in March. This is a non-government approved app called Signal, and that chat included operational plans for U.S. strikes on Yemen. In that chat, 18 other participants, Vice President J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and very notably, Atlantic Magazine editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg.
Just for the record, Maria Bartiromo was supposed to give that Fox update, but she couldn't stop crying. Anyway, just to reiterate, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and his deputy Alex Wong are leaving their posts at the White House, and they're leaving today. Of course, all is not what it seems. Sources say that Donald debated whether Waltz should resign after the initial Signalgate, but Waltz never made the offer, and Donald did not ask him to step down at the time. Publicly, Donald supported Waltz by calling him, quote, a good man who learned a lesson, unquote. But according to reports, Donald actually just thinks that sufficient time has passed since Signalgate, so-called, and that Waltz and Wong's departures can be framed as part of reorganization. And yeah, that's how to get that stuff under the radar, by saying such things publicly. Anyway, reports say that Donald was too afraid. I love that word. Donald was too afraid to oust Waltz over fear of the perception that doing so could be seen as bending to outside pressure, also known as admitting that he was really wrong to hire him in the first place. As we all know, Donald can never handle any negative public perception about him, which is basically why he has to ignore the outside world entirely. Before we go further, we are not corporate-backed here at Barry Trump Media, and we are not for sale. We're here to expose every lie the Trump regime tells and tries to cover up, even as corporate media continues to bend the knee, making everybody else's jobs harder. Independent media only survives because of people like you, and together, if we stand up, we will never have to back down. So if you would like to help us keep growing and fighting, like this video, share it, and please make sure you subscribe to our channel. All right, getting back into it, all of this comes in the wake of Waltz kissing Donald's ass over the past few days. Take a look at this just embarrassing performance at yesterday's cabinet meeting.
Mr. President, the last 4 years, the world experienced a total lack of zero leadership under Biden. And then we've had 100 days of your leadership. Under your leadership, far more terrorists are no longer threatening the homeland under your leadership, pulling all of these Gold Star families, and you showing that follow-up and that justice has been incredible. But pulling this great team together, it's an honor to serve you in this administration, and I think the world is far better, far safer for it.
Thank you very much.
Wow, I feel safer. By the way, just this is a quibble, but a lack of zero leadership means that there was leadership under Biden, but, you know, not that they care. Yes, this phenomenal group of incompetent, unqualified white men must be such an honor. If that was not enough to get Waltz to keep his job, imagine what it would actually imagine what has to happen behind the scenes for these guys to keep their, well, actually don't imagine it. I'm so sorry I put that image in your head. Anyway, just hours before his ousting, Waltz then went on Fox and Friends to kiss the ring.
Just, Brian, I'm so excited about this. This is leadership at its finest, led by our commander-in-chief who loves the troops and they love him. We're 100 days in, and they are talking about modernizing the Army, counter drone, electronic warfare. This is exactly what our modern force needs as it moves out of those protracted Middle East wars to deal with the modern warfare that we're seeing, from space to cyberspace, from space to cyberspace, to drones to missiles. All of those in the hands of our warfighter now.
I mean, even Brian Kilmeade can't pretend that he's interested in anything that Waltz has to say there. It's just the most egregious performance. And even that wasn't enough to save his job. I think we can safely say that Waltz is just a really good actor, or he truly didn't see it coming. I'm going with the latter because, like everybody else in Donald Trump's cabinet, including Donald Trump, these guys are not very smart at all. Here he is at 8:25 a.m., directly after that, again, deeply humiliating Fox interview on the north side of the White House. Have a good day. I mean, props to him. I'm actually surprised he was able to walk at all under the weight of that enormous humiliation he just suffered. But, it's very possible that he's just relieved, because who wouldn't be? Let's be honest, though. Waltz's defense was always shaky from the start, and he was probably going to be ousted by Donald eventually anyway. This is Waltz on Fox right after the initial Signalgate debacle.
I don't know this guy. I know him by his horrible reputation, and he really is the bottom scum of journalists. And I know him in the sense that he hates the president, but I don't text him. He wasn't on my phone, and we're going to figure out how this happened.
So you don't know what staffer is responsible for this right now?
Well, look, a staffer wasn't responsible, and look, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated.
But how did the number?
I
mean, I don't mean to be pedantic here, but how did the number?
Have you ever had somebody's contact that shows their name, and then you have somebody else's number there?
I never make those mistakes.
Right? You got somebody else's number on someone else's contact. So of course I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. I'm sure everybody out there has had a contact where it was said one person and then a different phone number.
But you've never talked to him before, so how's the number on your phone? I mean, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it's just curious. How's the number on your phone?
Well, if you have somebody else's contact and then then somehow it gets
someone
sucked
sent
in,
you that
it gets
contact.
sucked in.
No, it doesn't actually get sucked in. And actually, only on Fox could the word pedantic be used to describe an actual legitimate journalistic question. I think, though, Waltz was trying to walk a very tight line. On the one hand, he did what he's supposed to do, and he called Jeffrey Goldberg a loser because, that goes a long way with Donald. But here's the problem. He took responsibility for what went wrong, and you are never, ever supposed to do that if you work for Donald Trump. Unfortunately for Waltz, and probably fortunately for the rest of us, he is out. But Donald's national security advisors have never lasted very long. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. Michael Flynn lasted for 25 days. It was 25 days too long. H.R. McMaster, 411 days, and John Bolton, 537 days. So, at least Waltz lasted longer than Michael Flynn. So congratulations. You got to 101. But in all fairness, I think it's highly unlikely that Mike Waltz has ever been in charge of anything, despite the fact that he is was the national security advisor. Back in April, a conspiracy theorist and Islamophobic hate monger, Laura Loomer, visited the White House and presented a list of individuals to be fired. As a result, 3 National Security Council officials were actually dismissed, ostensibly leaving Mike Waltz to deliver on Laura Loomer's bidding. The word on the Hill is that this might not be the only firing to come. Senator Tim Kaine, a member of the Committee on Armed Services, Tim Kaine, of course, is a Senate Democrat from Virginia. He's also in the Committee on Foreign Relations. He's been speaking to the press about rumors he's hearing about more firings to be expected. Let's take a look at Senator Kaine on Fox.
This is just breaking right now from Democrat Senator Tim Kaine. Jennifer.
What he said was that, in fact, he believes that more shoes could drop, suggesting that there are more firings to come. He quoted Senator John McCain and talked about legs falling off a centipede. I think that was the quote. But he also earlier had spoken to our producers on the Hill, and he had expressed extreme concern about a late-night tweet by Defense Secretary Hegseth in which he threatened Iran with potential military action if they don't control the Houthis. And Senator Kaine, again, a key member of the Armed Services Committee, said we don't need another war in the Middle East, something that I think many would agree, and which the president, of course, campaigned on. So there's a lot of turmoil right now. Again, a great deal of vacuum at the top of the national security advising chain as a result of the removal of Mike Waltz, who had been seen as a loyalist to President Trump for many years. These are some of his closest advisors that have been
Absolutely.
Words you do not want to hear about our national security agencies. A leadership vacuum at the top. Yeah, that should not make us feel more safe. So whether or not Mike Waltz knew this was coming, whether or not he's happy about it, I don't really care. Every single one of them needs to go, but they're only going to be replaced with worse. So I'm not entirely sure it would make a difference, but it would probably be better to have somebody in charge than not under the circumstances. So it's, again, very possible that Waltz is relieved and he can be free of the burden of being loyal to Donald Trump, who basically just threw him under the bus for mistakes other people also made, including people with much higher positions in the government than his, like Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Director of National Intelligence Nikki Haley. So is Mike Waltz going to be free of the burden of having to kiss Donald Trump's ass? I ask you. Look at this.
I'm here to tell you the truth about Donald Trump. Donald Trump hasn't served this country a day in his life. He essentially called anyone who was captured in combat a loser. It's something that I just personally can't stomach and I'm sickened by. Here is a man that I don't think is tough in any way, shape, or form. Don't let Trump fool you. Look into his real record. Stop Trump now.
Okay, Mike, shouldn't be too hard. You've done it before. Start telling the truth. You are beholden to nobody. I don't know what happened to you in order to get you to become somebody who was willing to overlook all of the things you know are true about Donald Trump. But now is your moment. You can stand up and say very clearly, Donald Trump is unfit. He's a loser. And he should not be anywhere near the levers of power. And he should have absolutely no say over how the men and women of the armed services are treated going forward. So I look forward to your next video. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.